that everybody wants to see. There's a real spring in the step of these Rangers fans right now. They're on for their 7th title in a row. Can Celtic do anything to stop them? It's special. It's the 313th meeting between the two. Rangers against Celtic. The old firm go at it again. Well, this is the Championship trophy. Rangers have won their domestic title more than any other club in the world. The Scottish record back-to-back is 9 in a row by Celtic in the 60s and 70s. Rangers are heading for their 7th in a row. 10, just to rub it in, is the ultimate target. Well, this game marks the start of our Scottish football coverage, and what a start as well. If you haven't experienced the atmosphere of an old firm battle before, well, I can promise you, you're in for a real treat tonight. There's been some terrific games down the years. This one from the 60s, when Celtic were dominant, and Alex Ferguson was playing for Rangers. He's here tonight, incidentally. Was played in the old Ibrox, which was a huge bowl. Standing room only, always. Go further back to January the 2nd, 1939, and 118,567 squeezed in. That's a British record attendance. It still stands, and Rangers won the game 2-1. Well, this is the modern Ibrox after the redevelopment. They've been trendsetters, Rangers, in so many ways. This was the first stadium of its kind. So many have followed since. On the pitch, there have been so many changes as well. Foreigners have come and gone, and they continue to come. Basile Boli there, of France, amongst the latest. Well, our guests tonight, two men that know all about the old firm clash. Frank McAvenny, the former Celtic striker, and the former Englishman, Terry Butcher. Welcome to you both. Terry, we've been saying all week that this is the biggest, the daddy of them all. Can we really justify that, and how would you?
I would definitely say it is, yes, having played in quite a few, and I managed to stay on the pitch for the 90 minutes in quite a few, although me and Frank had early exits one year.
Not too many of them.
Yeah, I would definitely say it is the biggest game I've ever played in, really, in club football. I mean, you've got cup finals and things like this, but the atmosphere, I think when you go onto the pitch, it's the responsibility of the fans. You feel that more on your shoulders more than anything else, because it means just so much to the fans.
The one that you loosely referred to there is obviously famous in Scotland now in folklore history. It was Goldilocks and the Three Bears, that wasn't it? Yeah. Frank was Goldilocks, the Three Bears were you, Chris Woods and Graham Roberts. You all ended up in court after that. But was that game for you the first time you realised just how big this fixture was?
Well, no, I think we played in 5 before that, and I'd missed one that season. That was the second meeting, because we played each other 4 times up here. So that game, there just seemed to be the atmosphere was just, just strange, wasn't it?
To me, it was my first game. It was my first Old Firm game. And all lasted 14 minutes, so it was a little bit different for me.
You've got better recollections than that one.
Yeah.
What did this game, playing in this game, mean to you?
It's, as you said earlier, it doesn't matter where the teams are in the league. And the form goes out the window for these games. They just bring people in and they go by, and everyone just, it's sort of a little battle. I couldn't even begin to describe how you feel out there.
You've both played in so many places, both for your country, but there's something special about this, is there, in that dressing room 5 minutes before kick-off?
Yeah, I think you don't need much. Before now, obviously the stadiums have changed. I mean, before you used to warm up in the tunnel underneath the main stand, which is now offices and players' lounge and things like this, and there was a track divided by the actual concrete tunnel as it was then. So you could see the rivals. You weren't allowed to go on the pitch and warm up before the game, and we used to warm up as you walked out towards the right-hand side. So I think you had the left-hand side of the tunnel on this cinder track sort of thing. And you're warming up, no balls, just warming up, and you could see the Bears at either end, the Celtic supporters at their end, and the Rangers supporters there, and they're behind the cages, and they're screaming, you've got to do it today, you've got to do it. That means so much to the fans, because they live for these games, 4 games a season, and plus cup finals if you're lucky to get through.
They have their own game, they have their own competition. The fans, I mean, it's...
Well, let's have a look what the competition means tonight for the two teams. This is the Bells Scottish Premier Division, 1 down. And then the team finishing next to bottom will go into a playoff with the second finisher in the first. So Partick Thistle not too pleased with life at the moment, I shouldn't think. Reading up, it's Kilmarnock, Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hearts, Falkirk and Celtic. If they lose tonight, Celtic, they will be 20 points behind Rangers, who, as you can see, are 10 clear at the top. And it's 3 for a win, of course, in Scotland these days. Well, this gives you some idea of just how dominant Rangers and Celtic have been in Scottish football down the years. A world record 44 championships for Rangers. For all that, just the one success in Europe, the Cup Winners' Cup win in 1972. This is Celtic's response. Of course, they were the first British club to win the European Cup back in 1967. And then look at this little lot. 312 previous meetings, and that doesn't include Glasgow Cup ties, and they were big fixtures in their day in these parts. League meetings, 234. League meetings at Rangers, 117 in total. Rangers have won 57, Celtic 26, and they've lost just one of their last 7 here at Ibrox. That's not a bad record. 34 draws down the years. Well, if we take a look outside, you can see the main stand, or the back of what is a fantastic development inside. 1929 this went up. It's a listed building. Rangers, a club built on tradition. And inside there, somebody who was a Rangers fan as a boy. He used to love coming back here as a player. That's Andy Gray.
Well, I can remember over 20 years ago when I first walked through these very doors into this wonderful reception area at Ibrox. People had told me, Andy, when you get through here, you'll be impressed. And I'll tell you what, they were exactly right. And what I think's nice about this place is that in an age of redevelopment and teams spending millions and millions of pounds making their grounds unrecognisable from 10 years ago, let alone 50 years ago, this is an area at Ibrox that really hasn't altered at all. This wonderful marble flooring is still in place. The pillars are still there. This wonderful wood panelling around the walls, all intact and unaltered, probably since 1929, the 1st of January, when it changed. And the most impressive part of all, I'd been told, watch out for the marble staircase, and it's a wonderful sweeping staircase that takes you up to Walter Smith's office upstairs and the banqueting suites. It also leads us to another place that I'd like to take you to that hasn't been touched by money or time. Well, this is the other area where I'm delighted to say that money hasn't talked and Rangers have kept with tradition. It's a magnificent, and I mean magnificent, Ibrox trophy room. Of course there are trophies here. Rangers record tells us all that there will be trophies in this room, but there's more than that in here. Look at down here. Would you believe the 35 medals won by a famous Ranger, Bob McPhail, in that wonderful presentation case? Across here, loads and loads of wonderful cut glass. On the wall, silver salvers from all over the world commemorating Rangers trips aboard and famous foreign sides who have visited Ibrox. And down at the bottom here, wonderful portrait of, well, Rangers' most famous manager ever, I think, the late, great Bill Struth, and all the pennants that hang beside him of famous League Championship victories. I know you're wondering, what on earth is a bike doing in the Rangers trophy room? And that's not the groundsman's bike that he left here by mistake. This, again, is something Rangers picked up on their travels. It's from the French club, Saint-Étienne, and it was presented to Rangers many, many years ago. The unfortunate thing about it, John Gregg was telling me, it came unassembled, and it took Rangers about 6 months to get it all together again. But it's finally up, as Rangers promised it would be. One other very famous occasion today will happen. This is called the Loving Cup. It was presented to Rangers many, many years ago, and now what Rangers do, tradition is, it comes out every first home game of the new year. That happens to be today, Celtic, here at Ibrox Park. It's taken into the Blue Room, where the directors of Rangers, the visiting directors, and their guests are assembling. And it's filled with champagne, and each guest and director is asked to take a sip from it. Now, I've got the cup, no champagne. Nick, can you help me?
Well, Andy, this is the champagne they'll be using for that ceremony. Rangers' own brand, of course. And whatever your poison, Rangers can provide it. There's Rangers gin, red wine, white wine, Rangers whiskey, even Rangers vodka. This is just a small part of the vast array of souvenirs provided by the commercial department. Any number of videos, as you can see. The club actually sold 50,000 videos in the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas. They've got their own TV station, RTV. A 30-minute programme goes out on match days. Fans can watch it on 200 screens throughout the ground. So big is the commercial operation that for every £1 that Rangers take, 42 pence comes through the gate and 58 pence is made by commercial revenue. You could say they cater for every taste. Well, the ladies are busy preparing, and I'm sitting in the Argyle House restaurant. It's the longest in Britain. Nearly 300 diners will sit down for a meal beforehand. They've got their own special menu, a 5-course luxurious meal including Scottish smoked salmon and traditional oatcakes, and sirloin steak in a chasseur sauce. Sounds pretty tasty, doesn't it? But this is only a small part of the huge catering operation that goes on here. Rangers were the first club in Britain to introduce their own in-house catering operation, and it's certainly paying dividends. 7 years ago, the commercial income was around £500,000. Now it's worth between £8 and £9 million. It's what you might call the icing on the cake. Well, these are Rangers cakes, needless to say, and traditionally served at half-time. I couldn't wait. I've had them before. I know they're very tasty. Good as ever.
Yeah, I can vouch for that as well. Rangers really are one of the giants of world football. 7:30 kick-off, not too many in yet, so where is everybody? Well, the answer is quite simply that they're inside, beneath those stands, enjoying fabulous facilities. They really are. 46,000 will be here, and they'll be in their seats in 10 minutes time. Celtic fans back in their numbers. There's a picture here, some 18 months back when they weren't around. Much to do with the redevelopment, that is the traditional Celtic end. Charlie Nicholas on the bench tonight for Celtic. No Peter Grant, sadly no Tony Mowbray, who's unavailable. No McCoist, no Haitley for Rangers. Old Firm action next.
Tense moments in
the Old Firm battle live on Sky Sports tonight. It's Rangers against Celtic from Ibrox. The bookies make Rangers favourites, strong favourites, to 3-1. Celtic 9-4 the draw. A noise is building and the baiting has started. That's what the Rangers fans think about Celtic right now. No money, no stadium, no trophies. No McCoist, no Haitley for Rangers, but it really doesn't matter what the personnel is. This is going to be a stormer anyway, but obviously big disappointment for Ali McCoist, who's poised on 299 goals for Rangers. He wanted the 300th tonight. He won't get it, but here he is with Nick Collins.
Well, Ali, 299 goals for Rangers. How frustrating is it that you can't make it 300 tonight?
Oh, it's a nightmare really, because it's always Rangers Celtic games are very special games, and the New Year's games even more special. It's a blow, but hopefully it won't be too far away.
To those that haven't experienced it, what is so special about an Old Firm game?
Well, I think the rivalry is second to none, and I'm sure you're all about to witness that. I think Andy Gray will certainly vouch for that. I think the game itself, sometimes are towsy affairs, but hopefully there'll be a bit of football played today. But I think I would just advise everybody to sit back and enjoy it, hopefully.
All right, let's hope you're back in action soon as well. Thanks Ali.
Very much. Enjoy the game.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Our guests here, two men that know all about this match. Frank McAvenny, the former Celtic striker, and the former Rangers defender, of course, Terry Butcher. Now, we were talking about the changing face of Rangers a little earlier, Terry, the foreigners that continue to come here. What about this fella, Brian Laudrup, who's won his second Player of the Month award this season, this current month? And this is a fellow they told us on the way in here today. Take a look at him. You'll love Laudrup. What's he brought to Ibrox?
Well, he's brought goals, he's brought chances for fellow strikers. He's just added that breath of fresh air that people like to see. People attacking fullbacks, people attacking defenders with the ball. He seems to run quicker with the ball than without it. And as we see here, I think he just frightens defenders, really, the way he just runs at them with pace.
When we came up here pre-season to watch the 4-team tournament, he was really playing wide left. What's his role now?
Well, he's got a bit of a free role, really. I mean, Walter just allowed him to drift across the front line. Sometimes he starts in the right wing, sometimes in the left wing. But I mean, as soon as he picks the ball up, he just has a go at people, and he just got that, dip of the shoulder, and just takes people on and just gets into the byline. But when he gets into the byline, he delivers perfect balls into the box. I think it was Neil Murray on that occasion could and should have scored on the far post. It's not just about beating players. When he gets to the byline, he can just deliver the perfect cross for either Mark Haitley, who obviously not playing tonight, but people like Charlie Miller getting into the box, and other players, Ian Ferguson, of course, that just have a simple task of stroking it home.
I'm just looking around behind me, wondering what was going on. There's nothing really. Players are warming up, but listen to the noise level already. Andy Walker here. There's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders tonight. Frank, who's a gentleman that knows all about these games, of course, was sold to Bolton and then subsequently brought back. Is he in the sort of form to provide Rangers with problems tonight?
Yeah, he is. What's so good about it is that the weekend he came back from, as you say, from a lengthy spell without scoring, and he scored at the weekend, so it's a big boost for Andy. It'll do his confidence a world of good, and Celtic need him to be in form.
Well, that's Andy Walker, who leads the Celtic line tonight. Phil O'Donnell is a name that Andy Gray has mentioned to us so many times. I think when he was the assistant manager at Aston Villa was suggesting that they should buy him. What can you tell us about Phil O'Donnell, Frank?
He breaks very quickly and very intelligent from midfield. He's a bit the same in Pat McGinley that Celtic had here, and they brought him. They spent a lot of money on him. He'll score a lot of goals for Celtic. Maybe take him a little while to settle down. I don't know how he'll react to the night at Ibrox, but you just have to wait and see. Hopefully he can get through it.
Basile Boli was greeted very warmly when he made his debut here, again in that pre-season 4-team tournament, Terry. How will he react in this tonight?
Well, I think he'll react because he's a good professional, but I mean, when he came here early on, and people thought, well, he's going to do very well, and looking forward to seeing him play. And since then, he's had a few articles in newspapers in France, and didn't really endear himself to the Rangers supporters. But that was all forgotten about after lengthy explanations to the manager. And I think he's knuckled down well. I mean, he's had good players around him. They bought McLaren from Hearts, and Richard Goff's been playing very well lately. So he's sometimes Walter plays with a 3 at the back, sometimes with a back 4. So he's added that bit of stability to the back 4.
Quick word, it's one apiece so far this season. Celtic have won here already. Will Rangers win tonight?
Well, Rangers are the team in form. I mean, they're going very well. Loudup's in good form, of course. They're missing, obviously, Ali McCoy and Mark Haley, but it doesn't seem to matter who plays up front with Rangers now. If Loudup gets the ball, he can create opportunities for everybody. So the way that it's been going this season, one side's been winning away from home, and then the other side goes to their rivals' home ground and wins as well. So you never can tell.
A lot of pride at stake tonight for Celtic, Frank, isn't there? Do you fancy them?
I fancy them tonight.
You do?
I do. I definitely fancy them. They'll come here. They'll have a go at them right at the start. They've nothing to lose.
Look at him.
You never told me that before.
Yeah. I fancy them to win. I honestly do. Have a little bit.
All right. Let's get outside and sample some of this fabulous atmosphere. Sitting out there and enjoying himself already, I know. Andy Gray is joined by Martin Tyler.
Well, Richard, hello again, everyone. I'm enjoying myself as well. The gantry shaking with the noise level that's being generated as the Celtic fans start to make themselves heard in their end of the ground. Well, let's straight away get down to business with the team news for you tonight. And for all the significance of this match, Walter Smith not prepared to risk Mark Hateley's fitness. Ali McCoist is on the mend, but also not fully fit. But Rangers can field admirable attackers in Brian Laudrup, whose skill has been greatly acclaimed here in Glasgow, and the former Chelsea and Tottenham forward Gordon Jury, joined by 18-year-old Charlie Miller, who's been catching the eye this season. Ian Ferguson, who's had a lot of injury problems, is in midfield tonight. At the back, Alan McLaren and Basile Boli in their first season at Ibrox. In goal, it's Colin Scott, on paper third choice, but on the pitch again tonight in the continuing absence of Andy Gorham and Ali Maxwell.
Well, like Tommy Burns, Walter Smith's had to think long and hard about his formation, not just his selection. But it does look a very solid back 4. Lots of experience in that line, but it's ahead of that where he's thinking a little bit. Peter Houstra is going to be playing in that third central midfield area, but he'll work from in to out down that left-hand side and tuck back when they've got the ball. Gordon Jury, employed on the other side, will play a little bit further forward. He'll look to get forward on that side and get forward and join the attack. But when Rangers lose the ball, look for Jury dropping back in to form a 4 across the midfield with the other 3. Charlie Miller tonight has been asked to play up front, and his job is to get in between Celtic centre-backs. Michael Laudrup, the prize at the moment for Rangers, playing magnificently well. He'll just drift off the pace, he'll just drop off left, he'll just drop off in there, and all they'll do is try and get the ball to him. And when they do, well, he'll just go and he'll take people on.
Well, Celtic won their first game in 12 on Saturday, but still make 4 changes. Peter Grant, sadly for them, is ill, but compensation in the return of the record signing Phil O'Donnell to take his place alongside Paul McStay and John Collins in the centre of midfield. Irishman Paul Byrne, who scored in the last Old Firm fixture in October, he gets a recall tonight. He'll play wide on the right. But it's the defensive unit that's given Tommy Burns most cause for thought. Tommy Boyd is switched to the centre of the back line alongside Brian O'Neill. Mike Galloway comes in at right back. And 20-year-old Stuart Gray is at left back. His father, Eddie Gray of Leeds and Scotland fame, watching him here tonight.
Yeah, and that's the area that Tommy Burns hopes function well. It really is. It's a patched-up back four, and he'll really want them to play well and not really allow much space down these sort of areas. Certainly not allow much space in there for people to run into. So it's important for Celtic that they do defend well, but they have done that well this season, and I think because of what's ahead of it. In McStay and Collins, they've got two real match winners in the side. Phil O'Donnell back in the side, and watch for him. He will be the one who will drive forward, and it'll be Stuart McCall's job to look after him. Paul Byrne up employed on the right will tuck back in when Celtic lose the ball. Will look to go forward or not, and the same with McLaughlin. He'll tuck back in there and form a five, which makes Celtic a very, very difficult side to play against. Andy Walker up front on his own, but he won't be alone. When they get the ball, as I said, look for O'Donnell getting forward, look for McLaughlin getting forward, look for Byrne getting forward. It should be a fascinating game.
Well, long-suffering Celtic fans, the club has been at a pretty low ebb. Boardroom problems have interfered with the backing of the football side of the club in recent times. To some extent, that seems to have been sorted out these days, and Tommy Burns determined to lead the team upwards and onwards. But as for Rangers, David Murray, the chairman, has made it clear that the club is even more ambitious than ever. They've spent some £34 million on improving the ground, but there's still plenty available for Walter Smith to strengthen the team, particularly after around £4.5 million has come in from Everton for Duncan Ferguson. And Andy, I think it's fair to say that Rangers have done so much that's right to develop the club on contemporary lines.
I think so. They've set the standards that at the moment only other clubs in Scotland can look and envy, but no one can match the Rangers at the moment, Martin, for this, what we're seeing tonight. But I think they can in their own way contribute. They've started something, and I think it's up to the other clubs now to pick it up and follow it, particularly Celtic. Great rivalry in this city, as everyone knows, between Rangers and Celtic, and it's important. I feel it's important for football. I really do, in this country, that Celtic aren't left behind.
That banner about Paul McStay, he's been captain since 1990. The last trophy Celtic won in 1989, the Scottish Cup, and that might not have happened if Graham Souness had picked you.
Wishful thinking on my part. But it's nice to be here. We talked about atmosphere, Martin, and I mean, just for you and I to be sitting on this gantry, you really can feel there's something special about it.
And it's a different feel to Scottish football this season. With the 3 points for a win, Celtic have drawn an awful lot of games that are finding out, as clubs in England could tell them, that a draw in the 3 points for a win system is not such a good result. But nowhere does football's derby divide run deeper than here in Glasgow.
Big day for that young man, the goalkeeper, Martin Collins, Scott. He'll be nervous. He'll be nervous early on. And I'm sure that Celtic will try and put the young man under a bit of pressure early in the game.
He did play in a derby last season here, but that was the occasion when Celtic fans were banned from the game, so he didn't have the intimidation factor. But there are some 7,500 wearing green to support Celtic's cause here. Jim McCluskey, the referee, just waiting for the visiting team to show their faces. And he's gone in to try and find them, it seems. So Rangers are kept waiting.
It's not a bad area to be kept waiting in these days, Mark. Not like a cold, dark tunnel as normal. It's quite luxurious, quite plush, as you can see.
Looking, above all, to win the championship for a 7th successive season. That shouldn't be forgotten tonight amidst the quest for satisfaction in local pride. But they're sitting very pretty, 10 points clear at the top. Celtic in 4th place. And I understand that even should they win tonight, Celtic, they don't get a bonus because their win bonuses only apply if they're in the top 3.
Well, that's incentive for you, Martin.
The black armbands, incidentally, out of respect for the wife of Tony Mowbray, Celtic player who died tragically at the weekend. Well, it's a fixture here that produces a terrific sense of theatre, passion that provokes fierce and frantic football matches. Sparks are sure to fly. Well, the Old Firm at the new year. It's live and it's after the break.
It's ahead again. Let's join Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Jim McCluskey, very experienced referee, and you sense one is required in such an atmosphere. Celtic to kick off. Rangers currently ruling the roost in Scotland. Celtic trying to find a present to match their own glorious past. Honours even in the league meetings so far this season. Gordon Jury sent flying by Brian O'Neill.
Well, no surprise to see a tackle early in the match. Brian O'Neill, I think, probably right. He made a little bit more of it. Gordon Jury.
Andy Walker, really the one out-and-out forward for Celtic, trying to apply some pressure. Good kick by Scott, this young goalkeeper. I say young, he's 24. He's been here some 8 seasons, but he's very young in terms of lack of experience on occasions such as this tonight. Galloway flying in, headed forward by David Robertson. A typical derby tussle between Tom Boyd and Charlie Miller, who's playing further forward tonight than he has been in recent Rangers sides.
He's normally in recent weeks been in midfield, Martin, but he scored a bucket full of goals for the reserves from a forward position. And with problems with Haitley, problems with McCoy, Slaughter Smith feels that Miller's best job tonight will be up front.
Celtic have just endured their worst run without a win in league football in their entire history. They've got a victory against Falkirk at the weekend. But this would be a wonderful way to build on it if they could find the strength and the skill.
Well, they are the only team to defeat Rangers in a league match here this season, and I think that'll be firmly in their minds. Certainly Tommy Burns would have used that.
Galloway wanted to be quite precise with the throw. Goff stepping in. Here's Paul McStay in his 600th competitive appearance for Celtic tonight.
It's a big area that tonight, the midfield, with McStay, Collins and O'Donnell of Celtic. They're very, very strong, I feel, in that area. We've got Walter Smith expected, 2 real competitors in Ferguson and McCall in there to combat them.
Bowley's ball bypassing the midfield, but there's not the height of Haitley. They tried to drop it in for Miller. Walker chasing, back with Celtic after a 3-year absence south of the border with Bolton, where he had some splendid times and also picked up a serious knee injury. The weather here, incidentally, comparatively mild compared to recent days. Been quite a lot of rain. Pitch in very good condition, even though Rangers have had to train on it over the past couple of weeks. because of the absence of other facilities which have been frozen up. McCall. Forward from Goff. Away sensibly enough by O'Neill. Very important, you feel, for Celtic not to concede any